It's Wednesday morning, and you know what that means. It's time for another episode of the Alabama Slam podcast. I'm your host, Corey Hanna.
What's going on, guys? It's Patrick Akers.
And it's me, Steven.
We're going to go ahead and get right into WWE news this week. We'll go start out with SmackDown. Apparently there was a beatdown of Jimmy Uso and Solo by LA Knight, AJ Styles, and Randy Orton.
That was it, yeah. So we got, they started off the show. Grayson Waller was coming out to, I don't even know who's going to wrestle, Cameron Grimes. And, Bloodlines jumped Cameron Grimes from behind. Paul Heyman cuts his, classic promo. Nick Aldis is the bad guy for putting your tribal chief in this situation. Nick Aldis rips the microphone away from Paul Heyman.
Says an all-time great line. You seem to think this is a conversation between equals, but you're not, because I'm in charge here, bitch.
Nice.
Yeah, he's been great in this role. WWE has had, I guess for lack of a better word, like inept authority figures for a little bit, or they've gone the classic like Triple H and Stephanie are the authority and they're bad guys. Nick Aldis is just like, I'm a fucking built like a damn shit brick house in a suit, and like I'm gonna call the shots and I'm not gonna be intimidated of anybody. It's been really refreshing, honestly. I kind of like him and Adam Pearce to an extent too, but Adam Pearce doesn't have the type of physical presence that Nick Aldis has. This was a good little setup, and then of course Paul Heyman hilariously tries to find a third partner for the Bloodline, and everybody says no, and of course the good guys at the end get the beat down on Solo and Jimmy, and we're setting up for the Royal Rumble, which is a week away, I guess at this point.
10 days.
Yeah, that's the first note on Raw for this week. Says this is the first Royal Rumble in a long time that has so many stories and possible winners. There's a lot going on.
There is. I mean, that match was kind of your standard. I mean, they couldn't find a partner, so what do? You take out one of the guys, so it's no longer a handicap match. And, of course, the guy they take out is Randy Orton. So the crowd pops when he comes back in, slips in, hits his move, and rolls on out.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty classic stuff. Of course, like, this is the first... I don't know how you guys feel about this, but, like, even the WWE now seems to kind of acknowledge that, like, the thing with Roman Reigns is like same old. Like even Nick Aldis made reference to of course Roman Reigns like isn't here. Like they're starting to make those connections that fans have been making honestly for a while now. It's just not a recent thing. So I don't foresee Roman Reigns walking out of WrestleMania the champion. I would be shocked honestly if it happens. But stranger things have happened in WWE.
And this goes to a note I was making I put over on Raw as well, because during that main event, there was callbacks to other things. And I appreciate that I'm no longer being treated like I have the attention span of a goldfish. I mean, there's a lot of callbacks and storylines that pull from other places or what have you. And it's refreshing.
Yeah, they're at least acknowledging that like these guys have a past, right? With like Drew McIntyre and Cody Rhodes, they're like, oh, both of these guys left the company and came back and were hot names on the indies. And obviously in Cody's case, he started AEW, but like they're at least acknowledging that stuff, which is, a good thing to see. And I think that comes under, like what you said, that is with Triple H's guidance. Like, don't treat the fans like dumbasses, because we watch this stuff every week. Like, we pay attention to what's happening.
I guess that's the other thing that came out of this week too, was on SmackDown, was we get another one of the bricks being laid in the pathway of damage control and Bayley being separated during the match with Bianca and Bayley. Bayley's out there begging for damage control to help, and they're like, nah, this is what it's going to be like in the Royal Rumble. So we're getting that feel of the fracture that's forming there as well. So we got two good storyline meltdowns that are coming for various reasons, whether it's, Roman taking advantage of his hirelings, or, the other crew that has is slowly pushing Bailey out.
So it says wrestling is so much better when it gets personal. Who was that about?
That was me, and I'm trying to remember what I said because that was on Raw, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Ludwig Kaiser and Xavier Woods. That's where that reference was coming. We had Gunther come out, and he's talking, his usual trash about, wherever we're in Arkansas, so it smells like depression, it smells like excrement, it smells like whatever, He looks to Ludwig and says, "Hey, I'm proud of you. You finally stepped it up a notch. You crushed in this dude's head, and I love you for it," kind of thing. You're showing the aggression I want you to. Obviously, that brings out Xavier Woods, leads to a match with him and Ludwig, and it's just one of the things that we hear a lot is about the work rate between AEW and WWE, about how WWE has that softer style because, they're trying to take it a little bit easier. But that match had more of a old school feel to it where things were a little bit snugger. They were hitting, the hits hit a little bit better kind of things because it made it feel more personal. It made you feel like there was more investment. This wasn't just, a match. This was a guy coming out here, as Xavier says, to get his pound of flesh for the wrongs that have been done to his friend. And I think, even though it's not like your main event match, it still felt more important because it meant something beyond just a let me wrestle. This wasn't this, it had that feel, that fight feel.
And we get the interesting wrinkle backstage where Xavier is doing his promo and Ludwig attacks him, and then who comes to his rescue but his probably longtime rival, Mr. Jey Uso. So we're setting up something there. If we don't do Jimmy and Jay at WrestleMania, I wouldn't be surprised if they do Gunther and Jey Uso at WrestleMania.
I don't know. We still got that Brock card to play somewhere.
Nobody wants that.
Well, yeah, sure, whatever. I don't care about Brock. Gunther.
Cares.
I think Gunther can get a great match out of anybody, but like Brock is one speed. He's got one thing, and that's it. He's going to hit some suplexes, and it may be cool to see him like trade chops, and I'm sure Brock would be down to put Gunther over, and yeah, it'd be a nice feather in his hat, but like, I'd rather actually see a good match, because if we didn't do a best of list for WWE, but like if we were doing best of matches in WWE of last year, how many does Gunther have? Damn near all of them. Majority of them.
He ran the card.
So like, I would just rather see the guy in a high profile match with somebody who could actually keep up with him. Not necessarily keep up with him, but like, if you have Brock in a match, you have to do Brock's match. It can't work any other way.
You do, but at the same time, I think that would be a good way to get him over and into that main event scene where, it's that rung, kind of like Brock is a gatekeeper for him to be elevated in a way.
I could see that. I mean, he did it for Cody at SummerSlam, so I mean, I could see that. I just would rather see Gunther have a better match, but they still might do Jey Uso versus Jimmy. I mean, those guys have talked about wanting to have a WrestleMania match against each other before it's all said and done. And if it doesn't happen this year, I don't know when the year to have it is. So there's a lot of it. What's cool about this WrestleMania season is like, there's a lot of stuff up in the air, and a lot of it is interesting. There's not a lot of like, oh, these two guys are clearly going to have a match, but like I couldn't care any less about these two guys. It's like, no, we have, what is Drew McIntyre going to do? What is Cody going to do? The damn Rock is out there. CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Gunther. We'll talk about Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, like Bayley. Like, there's a lot of people who are stalwart. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. A lot of guys and girls who are stalwarts of WWE who have a lot of different options leading into WrestleMania. It feels a little different than it has in years past.
It feels like last year we kind of knew like a couple months out, right? But then also with Punk coming back, and I don't know. It feels like things are a little different. We know he's probably going to end up with Rollins, but it's still just things feel like they've been shaken up a bit more.
It feels it's I don't want to say fresher because it's still the same faces that we're getting. It doesn't. We may be getting to the same place that we always get to, but it feels like we're taking a scenic route about it this time, as opposed to just that direct line that we normally get, where there's we don't color outside the lines. We just get there.
Yeah, I think that's all the WWE, unless we missed anything.
But I mean, again, this is another spot where I'm talking about they didn't treat me like a goldfish. We had the much anticipated, I'm using air quotes there, Jinder Mahal and Seth Rollins match, where you've got so much interference in this, but there's that callback to Rollins gets smacked in the head with the briefcase. You get Jinder lock in the Colossus and hit it. I mean, they're talking about, even on the commentary, they're talking about that's how he won his title back in here. And so, they're building. I mean, it was a throwaway match. There was never a doubt in anybody's mind that Jinder was going to eat the pin in this match. But because they are calling back on the history of things, it does add a little bit of suspense to make those false finishes actually sell to the crowd. So I appreciate that more.
So what happened to Seth? I saw that there were injury reports today. Like, was it something serious or what's going on there?
I think he's just trying to sell to be that underdog fighting champion, talking about how his knee is bothering him. And that's, I think they're working it as a storyline.
Gotcha.
But maybe I'm wrong.
Go along with his back.
Yeah. I mean,
his knee and his back.
The only injury I think we had this week from WWE was the Carmelo and Austin Theory when they landed crap in a suplex off the ropes,
which didn't look that bad. I don't know why they called it. I don't know what the ref heard. I don't know, because he went over to check on Austin Theory, and I don't know if his eyes were glazed over or what, but it didn't. I mean, it looked like they landed awkwardly, but it didn't look like they spiked the mat.
From what I heard is they couldn't knocked their melons together, kind of thing. So
is that enough? I mean, I listen, I'm all for safety, but is that? I don't know.
Hey,
they looked like they were part of it. They were still in it. I don't know.
According to those concussion commercials that keep popping up everywhere, I look around. Just, you got to protect that melon, man.
That's true. I mean, yeah, but it was it's kind of unfortunate. It's kind of crazy though. Carmelo Hayes and Austin Theory, in 5 years, if we're still doing this podcast, that could potentially be like a WrestleMania main event if they do it right. Those guys have that kind of potential.
I guess the other thing I want to talk about on WWE is the fact that we get the breakup. We're getting the. I thought it was funny that I saw it somewhere on Twitter, and I don't remember who I'm quoting here. But if we were playing, if we were gambling here, none of us would have picked R-Truth as the nail in the coffin that broke up the Judgment Day. And that's literally how this is being built, to the point that you got evidently Damian backstage, begging Triple H and the writers to keep Truth involved in this stuff. You get R-Truth is now selling more merchandise than John Cena. I mean, he's pulling in the money, and mind you, it seems like a lot of that merchandise he's selling is out in the parking lot for his cut that he's paying off people here.
I saw that part. That was funny.
They did a quick behind the scenes Twitch kind of, or not Twitch, but reel whatever, where Dominic and Finn come back, and Finn finds his jacket just stuffed with money, and evidently they've cut everybody out. They've given everybody but JD, who's been cut out because his name ain't on the shirt.
I mean, that's fucking funny.
Listen,
whoever came up with that was on it.
I mean, listen, it has at least made Judgment Day interesting, because now it seems like, since we're gearing up to WrestleMania season, Rhea Ripley is going to finally kind of offshoot and do her own thing. And so it's kind of just going to be left to the dudes of the group. And, for better or for worse, when it comes to this group, R-Truth has made them interesting. Now, it's still crazy to me that he is turned Judgment Day into a comedy act when they hold a briefcase, and you tried to make them like Bloodline 2.0, and that's not what like fans said. You literally said that, like Rhea Ripley's like, we're the next Bloodline. But you know, you can't have too many spooky groups. So if Karrion Kross and his emo metal band on SmackDown, the Final Testament, finally are going to do their thing, you know, you can't have two of those groups. So why not put R-Truth with the Judgment Day and see what happens? I mean, he's been the most interesting part of Judgment Day, other than Damian Priest, you know, fucking around and can't figure out how to cash in a title, and even the wrestlers now are calling him idiots, which I find pretty hysterical.
I love it. I think that's might be one of our Mania matches is going to be Damian and R-Truth versus Finn and Dominic, but who knows?
If that happens, from where Damian Priest was at, main eventing a stadium in Puerto Rico with Bad Bunny, to being in what's going to be a bathroom match at WrestleMania if that happens. I mean, love those guys, but like that's what that is.
Oh no, I don't think you get up for that one. I think there's going to be other matches you can get up for, but you got to stay for the comedy because you know it's going to get weird with R-Truth and doing whatever.
I mean, maybe,
Look,
but that's.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, that's just a testament to R-Truth. Then, if that happens,
at this point, I've always said that I hated when like somebody that didn't win the Money in the Bank briefcase ends up getting it, like how they took it off of Otis a couple of years ago, et cetera, et cetera. I would laugh my ass off if this whole thing by R-Truth is just a ploy to get the fucking briefcase, and then he cashes in on somebody. I don't know who he would cash in on, but it'd be funny as shit.
He tries to get the 24/7 title back again, doesn't realize it's been taken out.
I don't know. Well, I say let's skip on into AEW. We've got a few things from
Can we talk about Rhea Ripley real quick?
Yeah.
Did you see that? I love this promo, for as simple as what it was. Mm-hmm. Like, because this was a classic. You know, oftentimes, and Steven kind of hit on this when he was talking about Ludwig and Xavier, a lot of times wrestling tries to get too complicated. They try to make the stories too complicated. This person stabbed this person in the back and blah, 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 blah. Sometimes it can literally just be as easy as like, I'm a good wrestler. You're a good wrestler. Let's see who's the best. And that's all you have to do. It's not hard. And this promo between Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch, like, both divisions and both companies, AEW and WWE, have felt stagnant, to say the least, for a while. Yeah. For whatever reason, be it injuries, booking decisions, whatever. And particularly with WWE and on the Raw with Rhea Ripley, it felt like this is the moment that we were going to get to, and they just kept circling each other and circling each other and circling each other. And this was the first time Monday night where they put it on screen. And obviously now, because it's Rumble season, I think this is going to be one of your main events for one of the nights. Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch. I mean, it has to be.
I wouldn't be mad at him.
And I think it's, like I said, it was just such a simple promo. It wasn't anything. They let it breathe. It didn't feel rushed. It felt real. And so, yeah, I thought it was great. I thought, honestly, that was the highlight of Monday Night Raw, just this simple promo between these two.
If I'm going to bitch about it somewhere else, I got to bitch about it here. This is another one of those things where I love the promo. I want to see this match. But if you are already building up to your Elimination Chamber match, and you can't have me trying to buy into this storyline with Becky if I'm already overlooking the next pay-per-view you're trying to sell me. I almost feel like we kind of should have maybe flipped the Royal Rumble and the Elimination Chamber a little bit just to get the Nia Jax match out of the way. And I get why she's there. I mean, if you're going to Australia, Rhea is going to be one of the most popped people when she comes out. That's a home crowd. She kicks ass. She takes names. She's got the it factor that's going to make a normal crowd's love her. Hometown crowd's going to go nuts, so they're going to cheer her anyway. And Nia Jax, being what Nia Jax is the perfect villain to go into that match because nobody's going to cheer her there. But at the same time, I don't like that you're telling me to overlook an entire pay-per-view to get me to the next one.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, there's no reason why you couldn't have you could just bypass this whole thing with Nia Jax, because we all know how it's going to end. WWE doesn't do this a lot, but what if Becky just wins the Royal Rumble and she challenges Rhea Ripley at Eliminate, like Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch have a match at Elimination Chamber and they go to a draw, and then you run it back at WrestleMania. There's no reason why you can't do that. Now, honestly, like, you would have to be really smart about how you set up those matches, because you would have the WrestleMania match would obviously have to feel a little bit different than the Elimination Chamber match. But if these two women were, and they are capable of this, clearly, if they go out in Elimination Chamber and wrestle a classic, who wouldn't want to run it back at WrestleMania? And, like, honestly, it's putting two of your best women's wrestlers in a position to say, listen, you two are the stars of this division. We have faith in you. This is our plan. We're going to do Elimination Chamber with you two in Australia. We're going to do WrestleMania. Here, step up to the plate. Let's see if you can go 2 for 2.
Yeah.
Because, like Steven said, like, this is not a thing with Nia Jax. Who gives a shit? She's not going to win.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. That just feels like a waste of time. But I mean, I guess.
Clearly, they want to show Rhea is strong and she can body slam Nia Jax, and she's a star. But, like, is there anybody that watches wrestling that still needs convincing that Rhea Ripley's a star?
No.
Every time they pull in new people, they got to be. That's the premise of what people love and hate about WWE, is the fact, like Corey was saying when he was like, I'm out. It's the fact that you felt like nothing was ever happening, yet there wasn't a need to watch, because anything that you saw, you kept getting repeated. But they do that much like comic books. You do that to introduce every episode is somebody's first episode in their mind. So you have to keep reintroducing those moments.
Yeah, but Rhea Ripley's like Batman. I don't have to know Batman's origin story if I'm coming in there for the first time. I can look at the screen and be like, oh, she looks cool. I bet she's awesome. That's just easy how it goes.
And yet, how many Batman origin or Spider-Man origins do we get? That's every time, man.
I mean, fair point. But
fair point.
How many times do we roll our eyes about it too?
Right.
But we shuck that $20 out and sit down in the theater and go, yep, all right.
If it was anybody but Nia Jax, though, if it was literally anybody else,
sure, yeah.
Like, I don't know. Fine. There's not some. What if there's not a woman in NXT that could do this spot? I don't know. There's not another Australian woman in NXT that they could have put to do the Elimination Chamber match. Like, I don't know. She's not going to win anyway, so what's it matter?
Right. All right. So let's get into Dynamite. This has got to be a Steven comment. If this is their A show, I would hate to see Rampage.
And I get it. We talked about this somewhat off the air beforehand, that going into this, I knew what this Dynamite was. It was their homecoming. It was their Brody tribute show. So I was
by a 13-year-old.
Yeah. I wasn't. I saw the card. I was like, okay, whatever. But it was, for everything I said about when we last recorded, everything I said about Collision, this was the opposite of Dynamite, in the sense that it was 2 hours. You had maybe 20 minutes that you needed to watch. Only this time it was in the beginning of the show, and the rest was just, what it was for the next hour and a half.
Yeah, I mean, it was not a good show. This has happened some with AEW lately, and I know this one we chalk it up to the fact that -1 booked it, and I get it. He had to do they wanted to do a bunch of stuff to honor Brody, so you get Preston Vance getting pins and all that stuff, but like
it had no logic to it.
Yeah, well, they're just been, you don't expect it when a kid's booking it, but like they just haven't had the run of shows. Like, there's been times before where they would go 8-9 weeks and it would just be banger after banger after banger after banger. And you're not getting that right now.
Okay, but hold on. We're a kid booked this. Are you telling me there was not an adult that has, I don't know, say $1 billion that has invested, 8 figures in a corporation that couldn't say, okay, that's cool. I'm going to take your advice and I'm going to tweak it to make a good television show.
I mean, yeah, but did we need 2 8-man matches? No.
No. Did we need bad guys and good guys mixed on those teams just to give wins to Anna Jay and Vance because those were the hand-picked choices of Brody? No, if you want them to shine, you put them in 2 separate matches, give them whatever, keep your story going, and you still give the kid his pop, you still give the Brody tribute, but no, we get this.
Yeah. I mean, it was not good.
And then
I don't know what else to say.
And then we get the promo where you think it's going to be fun. You get Swerve come out, you get Hangman come out, and then talk about Batman. What goes flaring up into the stadium? The Hook signal. Wah, 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 wah.
Yeah, the quote in the notes is "Stop trying to make Hook happen." Look, we all know that this match is going to last about 10 minutes or less tomorrow, right? Or tonight, if you're hearing this.
I expect this to be a 30-minute match at this stage based on how, why wouldn't it be?
It's just... Okay, before we get into Samoa Joe, let me just say this. For as kind of all over the place as what this show was, in not a good way, it did feel kind of cool that it was in Daly's Place in a small kind of venue and the crowd was into it. So if that doesn't give you any kind of like confidence that maybe we do book smaller venues, because the show has, when you go smaller like that, the show naturally has kind of like an energy to it, because the fans are in closer and all that sort of stuff. So I did like that. I wish AEW would quit. I've said this a lot. Just quit trying to do WWE type stuff. I don't need the big screens. Just let them walk out the small ramp. Like when you go to these small venues, especially if you were to book a good show. Now, granted, this was not a good show, but like if some of those dynamites that they've had, were like Corey, like what you were talking about, 8, 9 in a row, if they're happening in smaller venues, there is like an energy to that, but that's a different point. So yeah, with smaller venues, I think it would work. The promo that opened the show was Samoa Joe. It's everything I love and everything I hate about AEW. Like, Samoa Joe, first of all, fantastic. Ho-ass is a great put down that it's not used enough in social media. And he kind of laid out in the opening of his promo everything that people had to gripe about AEW and MJF's title run and all this kind of backstage politics. He's like, all that ends. I'm in control now. And then boom, we get Swerve Strickland. And the place goes crazy because he's on fire right now. And then, oh shit, we get Hangman. Hangman looks like a badass. He's just inserting himself. And then, what the fuck? Why do this? I'm not saying that Hook is not going to be a good wrestler in 5-6 years. What I'm saying is he's not a good wrestler now. Okay? First of all, he hasn't grown into his body, and that is not like a dig against him. He's fucking 23 years old. What 23-year-old out there looks like a badass? They don't. Especially nowadays. They all look like children. Okay? He needs time to look and mature and to grow into what he's going to be. He probably will be a fantastic wrestler in 6 years. He's definitely, like, they call him the handsome-hearted devil. He's definitely a good-looking kid. The hair is kind of like whatever, but the hair's obviously not for me. It's for young girls. They like that kind of stuff. But like, when he stands next to Samoa Joe, he does not look legitimate. That's a problem.
Yeah,
because there are legitimate guys up and down that roster. And I know I talked about this a couple weeks ago. But what if, just let me take the pencil here for a second. What if we do the opening of the promo, right? It's Swerve. All of it's the same. It's Hangman. Samoa Joe standing there. And instead of the fucking Hook back signal, what if it starts snowing? And out comes fucking Sting. Because the only reason that they're setting up Hook is that Hook is 28-1 or whatever the fuck. Sting hasn't lost a match. If you're going to make Samoa Joe's first championship match be a gimmick, why not have it be a gimmick against the dude that's going to fucking retire who's been a legend in the business? Like, because no one cares about a Samoa Joe versus Hook match. It's not going to be good.
Yeah, it's on Dynamite.
Yeah, and like, to me, obviously, listen, you don't want to have Samoa Joe, I don't think, lose so early, which is probably why they're having Swerve and Hangman kind of circle each other again, because those are the next two top contenders, theoretically. And so you want to kind of hold off to that. Okay, I get all that. But, like, if you can't book Samoa Joe and Sting for the next 8 weeks till we get to Revolution, where you can play all the greatest hits of Sting's career, you can do double Sting, you can do Sting in the rafters. Like, to me, it just makes so much sense. And I'm kind of shocked that they're not doing it and they're doing the Young Bucks. That's kind of wild to me.
You know who's not on board with that? Sting.
I think you have to convince Sting.
Sting supposedly handpicked his retirement match.
But I wonder if Samoa Joe was on the table, though.
Mm-hmm. But here's what makes me, because, I mean, let's talk about the elephant in the room here that's been wrestling Twitter for the last week. This Hook match and the Jinder Mahal match sparked off the debate because, you know, Tony wanted to preach his stats matter, records matter thing.
He's being a hoe-ass on Twitter.
Yeah, he's being a hoe-ass on Twitter. And at the heart of it, you want to preach that, that's fine. You're trying to make your organization sound legitimate. That's great. I don't care about that. That's not my argument. Both of them suck as contenders because neither one of them, I believe, are going to take the belt. But you know who's more believable than the other one? Jinder is more believable to me because he's been in main events. He's been a world champion. He's been something. He's not holding his daddy's belt that he carries around and has a believable personality over whatever the hell Hook is trying to sell me. It's the fact that I don't care about Hook. And I could say that about so many people that throughout every episode that we watched of AEW this week, be it Cope and his Open Cope Challenge coming out to have Lee Moriarty to the Bounty Hunter to it's just a who's who of people they're trying to introduce us to, but you introduce us to somebody new every stinking week, and you haven't established any of them to me to want to care, and I need to care in order to care about my fights. I need to care why you are going to win. This isn't a we are no longer living in a world where we pretend that these are anything but what they are, exhibition style matches. So give me a reason to care for who you're exhibiting to me. And Hook ain't it.
The Hook's not it. And the thing that's crazy about AEW is, like, you look at the roster. The roster is stacked with talent. Like, where's Pentagon at? Like AEW books so many of these shows with seemingly like one hand behind their back because they don't put all their top stars. Like, the reason why LA Knight is over is because every time people turn on SmackDown, LA Knight's there. Randy Orton's there. Now that AJ Styles is back, AJ Styles there. Over on Monday Night Raw, Seth Rollins is always there. In person. Kevin
Cody's
Owens.
there.
Cody's there. Whether he's doing something or not, he's in the ring. Like, it just kind of blows my mind. And I know AEW, like, they want to tout the work-life balance stuff and all that kind of stuff, but, like, there are guys. Hangman should be on every show. Swerve should be on every show. Samoa Joe should be on every show. Dynamite and Collision, by the way. They should be on both of them. FTR should be on every show. House of Black. Like, we shouldn't go weeks without seeing these people. Like, you could do the same thing with, like, Phoenix and Penta and, like, all these kind of matches. Like, Adam Page wrestled JD Drake on Collision. Why? JD Drake is a jobber, and they go like 15 minutes. Why not throw Phoenix in that match?
Yeah, and that was Hangman Page's hometown too, right? The other night.
Yeah, like
why are you doing that match?
There are so many mid-card people that you can throw in there that can eat a loss, but make it seem believable and good that the AEW fan base recognizes and has a relationship with. And it's just like, I don't understand what is happening right now. Maybe it's travel issues and visas. I don't like Pac. Where the hell's Pac?
He was there Saturday night, I think.
Was he wrestling?
There were tweets about him being backstage, so they're saying that he's probably going to be back soon.
Did he bring his trunks? Can he get out there? Like, what the fuck are we doing?
But see, and that's what what was when I say the only good match on AEW, what was it? On Dynamite. It was Claudio versus Page.
Yeah.
And why was that good? Because you have built up something to care about with both of those people. And it's like they can only focus on one match at a time when it comes to that, it seems.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. Lately at least, something seems real off with the booking lately. Because even before, when it wasn't, like I said, I was talking about, runs where they would have 8 or 9 weeks in a row where it was just bangers. We were getting kick-ass matches every week, and like most of them were all good. You'd get a snoozer every once in a while, but it hasn't been that way for at least a couple months at this point, probably.
And to continue Pat's point over there, it's you may not like Ivar, but he's on the show every time. So you're getting that consistency of trying to get this guy to go over. Alpha Academy, they may not have a match every time, but one member of them is always going to have a match, and you're always going to have the other ones somewhere around trying to, to get their personalities over or what have you. They're wasting so much time with what they're doing with as you said, the incredible roster that they have, and they are just doing nothing with it to give job matches to people that are ROH at best.
So let's get into the Sting comment in the notes here. This says, "Do you remember when Sting got hurt taking a buckle bomb 10 years ago?" Pepperidge Farm remembers, but Tony evidently does not.
That's yeah. Of course, that's gonna be my stupid ass. So 10 years ago, Sting was 50 something. Took a buckle bomb from Rollins, almost ended his career because it hurt his shoulder. So we get Hobbs, what's his name? Takeshita, thank you. Darby and Sting in a street fight match where you are working your way to your big pay-per-view, your big retirement match with a 60-something-year-old man. And you are having him take giant-ass bumps off the sides of stages, through tables, onto concrete. And he's not getting up as quick as you want him to, because he's 62 years old taking bumps off of stages, through tables, onto concrete. How in anybody's sane mind are you getting there? And that's the title I wrote. I edited that 3 times because what I had originally said was, Sting ain't teaching Darby, Darby's teaching Sting at this point. Because we get a stupid ass Darby bump in this one where they basically chuck his ass into the holler, only the holler is the other end of the ring, and his head bounces off the ropes as he lands.
I think they fucked that one up. I think they threw him farther than they meant to.
Well, how could you not? You had a dude that bench presses 700 pounds chucking a 100-pound dude.
Yeah, that one looked pretty rough. I didn't notice the buckle bombs as much, but I think Sting's going to sting at this point, man. I think he's having the time of his life and is like, fuck it. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to have some fun doing it.
I don't want to see a 62-year-old wrestling legend die in the ring.
I mean, I don't either.
But if you're letting Darby teach him, there's a better than 50% chance we're going to see a 62-year-old wrestling legend die in the ring.
It is kind of crazy that like they're a few weeks away from the last match and they're doing a street fight for what reason? Like, I get they're feuding with the Callis family, but like, I think I'd be wrapping that guy in plastic. But that kind of goes back to my point. Like, if you did Samoa Joe and Sting, you could keep Sting relevant, and Sting wouldn't have to be wrestling in street fights to keep him, around and to keep him fresh on TV as you lead up to his last match. It's just, I don't know. Again, I think if this is where you have a writing committee and you go, okay, Sting wants to do the Young Bucks, and the committee goes, yeah, but it's just like why?
Well, we got to get those Young Bucks over.
Like, it's Sting's last match, in the Coliseum that made him famous when he was wrestling for the world title. He needs to be going after the world title.
How disappointed were y'all when the Bucks walked out the other night?
I think you've seen my disappointment in the comment I wrote here.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, not the retirement I was suggesting for the Bucks. Yeah.
Like, because I don't need, here's the thing. I don't need a 5-star classic for Sting's last match. I want to see the hits. You know, if I go to a Rolling Stone concert, I don't want to hear new music. Play Give Me Shelter. Play, you know, Can't Get No Satisfaction. Do the fucking hits, man. That's what I'm here. What if you went out to a Rolling Stone concert and Mick Jagger's like, we got some new songs for you? You'd be like, oh, fuck. Well, what the fuck did I pay $450 for? I want to fucking, can you just play the
pay
others?
more than that.
Yeah, just play the hits, man. Like, I want to see double Sting. I want to see a ring full of Stings and fucking Sting pulls off the mask and it's Sting underneath it. I want to see Sting in the rafters. Like, you have 30 years of history to play back on. And this is what you decided to do against the Young Bucks? It's just...
supposedly he said that he wanted to... Yeah, supposedly he wanted to run it back because he had a really fun match with him a couple years ago. I don't remember the specific one, but that was the quote that I read, was that it was his idea. And they came back early because they were going to stay away from TV for a while and yada, yada, yada.
And see, that goes... He had a really fun match back whenever. And do you remember it? I don't remember it. So it wasn't like it was a humdinger of a thing that we were clamoring for them to get back in the ring and do it.
Yeah.
This is this is a softball. Sting's last match. Boom. There it is. Just make contact. Just have it be meaningful. This is a guy, Sting is a top 10 wrestler of all time that is trying to do something that no wrestler has ever done. He's trying to go out as the champion. You can have the promo battles with Sting and Samoa Joe where Sting can say, you know what, I am 62 years old and maybe I can't do it as champion night in and night out and I can't hold that title for years like I could have done when I was in my 30s. But you know what? I probably can muster it up to do it one night in the arena in the place that made me famous in Greensboro. At the Greensboro Coliseum, I can beat you for one and go out as the AEW World Champion.
Or what? See, I don't even need that because we know we knew how that match would have ended because you ain't giving Sting the belt because then what do you do? So, but we have had, how long has Sting been in AEW? What, 3 years? And he has been with Darby the entire time. Are you telling me that you don't have the story power to have Darby or Sting turn on each other or have some kind of match where you have been using Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer to get this kid over, and you're telling me that Sting can't do the job for him on the way out?
I mean, Patrick was been saying for the last year that the last match needed to be Sting and Darby.
Or that. Either. I would be fine with either one, but like, I don't know why. At least that makes
sense to me. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
And this has been when AEW started, and when I saw that, you were going to have talent be the backstage personnel as well, I said, well, we know how that goes because that is wrestling history at its best, where the person that has the pencil is there to get himself over. And that was one of the things that it ended poorly for him because of what it created with the Codyverse and AEW that went to crap. But I respected that he booked himself out of being that guy where he was going to be the mid-card guy at best because he was never going to be booking himself for championship. I think Kenny Omega kind of does the similar thing. He tries to kind of keep his hands off and does his thing. But the Young Bucks are in the Young Bucks business, and they have always been in the Young Bucks business. To me, this is just the best case scenario. What? Sting wins. What does that do for the Young Bucks? Nothing. What does that do for Sting? Goodbye. That's it. If the Young Bucks go over, whoever puts Sting out, that was an opportunity to build somebody as a legitimate bad guy. If you win over Sting in his retirement match, you then get so much heat that you have the the ability to have created somebody great. And if you give that to the Bucks, what's the point?
Yeah. I mean, fair point.
Which is why it should be Samoa Joe. He should be the new champion, taking Sting out.
Yeah.
But
so it looks like we got one last note there for New Japan has a new scapegoat. We had an appearance by Jack Perry, and he showed up and ripped up his AEW contract. He's got a thicker beard.
Got that villain beard.
Got that villain beard.
I mean,
Still got the hair.
I'll see what he does with it, but like, I didn't hate it. It was refreshing to see.
They could have done much worse things. Yeah, for sure.
And I do think it's cool that some AEW guys are going to Japan, because it seems like Jack Perry is going to be in Japan for a little bit, at least. This is not a one-off, you don't think? Because Shota Umino is a guy in New Japan who's also like a young dude, probably similar to what a Jack Perry is in AEW, like a young upstart guy. So like, seems like they're going to have a little rivalry, and it's kind of cool. You know, these two companies trade. New Japan has traded a lot of talent to AEW for a long amount of time. So now it's cool to see some AEW guys go over there, where it's not just like a one-off of like Danielson and Moxley do a 2-week run or whatever. If we get some actual stories being told over there, I kind of like when these companies cross over like this. And, you know, scapegoat is not a bad moniker. It's not a bad gimmick. We'll see what he does with it.
And I'm not a huge Jack Perry fan, but I do think that this has potential. But like we were saying in the group text there, it is going to take some execution that I don't know if he's ready for, but I really hope he is, because it has so much potential.
Yeah. I mean, it gives him a chance to work and get back in ring shape and not be in front of as many people as he would be if he were on AEW trying to make a comeback, you know?
Well, yeah, I'm a fan of, like, I've said this a lot on this podcast, putting people in situations and seeing if they sink or swim. Like, this happens in sports all the time. So, like, okay, Jack Perry's going to go to Japan. We're going to give him the scapegoat thing. Let's see what he does with it. And if he nails it, okay, cool. He's got some confidence. We have some confidence in him. And if he doesn't, well, then we know that whatever kind of potential we had for Jack Perry, it's not there anymore. So now we can shift focus and, you know, worry about somebody else who might have that potential. But, you know, it's not a bad first start. It's pretty good.
You think he shows back up at Revolution?
No, I think you keep him over in Japan and let him make noise. Because if the whole thing is he's gonna be the scapegoat and he's ripping up an AEW contract, he can't just walk back into the door at AEW.
Just walk back in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so I think they put him right there front and center, just like they did this time. Luchador mask in the crowd, he pops up, and you get that heat because, you know, they're scared to let anything sit sometimes.
If you're gonna have him in Japan, he needs to show back up at Forbidden Door, and you need to have a classic New Japan versus AEW, some kind of multi-man match, and Jack Perry is donning the New Japan gear, and he's, you know, leading some kind of invasion back into AEW.
Yeah. Book it.
Again, so many of these things at AEW, it's like, it's just toss-ups. Just hit it. You don't it ain't gotta be a home run, but like,
Just get on base.
WWE made this thing with Jinder Mahal work in 2 weeks. Like,
yeah,
if you set your mind to something, and then you say, okay, we're talented enough creatively to make this work. If this is going to work, how do we do it? A lot of this stuff, to me at least, it writes itself. Like the Sting thing. The Sting thing writes itself. And if you aren't going to do Sting and Samoa Joe, like Steven said, Sting and Darby, how does that not fucking write itself? They've been paired together the whole damn time they've been in the company. Why pencil stashed Young Bucks? No fan wants to see Young Bucks unless they're standing across the ring from FTR. That's the money feud with the Young Bucks. Everything else is like how we talked about with Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch. Everything Rhea Ripley does when it doesn't involve Becky Lynch is just wasting time.
Yeah.
Because we know what the match is going to be. We know what the fans want to see. We want to see Rhea and Becky. We want to see FTR and the Young Bucks.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I think that's going to wrap us up for the day, unless y'all got anything else. We had a little bit from Collision, right? It's not in the notes, but I know one of y'all said there was a Collision match we're talking about.
Oh, FTR and House of Black was good. I mean, at this point, it's like you're just typical AEW multi-man match where there's action all over the place, and they went like 30 minutes, but it was a really good match. Poor
but
Daddy
it's
Magic
the same
Matt
match we
Menard.
got. I mean, the only difference was that we added extra people to this match as opposed to the match that we had the week before.
Yeah, but it's like pizza or a hamburger. You know, a good pizza is just, it's good no matter when you get it. Like, you know, to me at least. Now some other fans might feel differently, but like, I just appreciate the athleticism and the fact that all these guys can be in the right spots at the right time. Like there is like when you have a sort of baseline technical knowledge of wrestling. I'm not saying I was the greatest indie wrestler of all time. Clearly not, or I wouldn't be doing this podcast. I would be on television. But like when you do have some kind of like baseline understanding, it does make it, you can kind of watch these matches and be like, man, these guys are so good, because like the pet peeves that we have about guys just like standing around waiting for people to jump on them, there's none of that in this match.
Yeah.
Like these guys are so good where they can make it look believable that they're getting into these spots and it doesn't look choreographed while they're doing all these crazy high spots. It's like, it's just, and I can watch that for, you know, every single day.
I will agree with you 100% on that. I wish they were able to bottle that chemistry they have and hand it out to every other person on that roster.
Well, yeah, I mean, but that's what separates, you know, the people being, you know, the tip top of being in ring and guys who are just there because they have a kind of charisma. And that's also not a bad thing. You need different flavors in wrestling. Because a lot of guys who are at the top of the card in wrestling, they've never necessarily been the greatest in-ring technicians. Yeah, Ric Flair was great, but was he better than Ricky Steamboat? Like, I don't think so. But Flair had a personality. He could talk on the mic. He was good enough in the ring to make you believe. I mean, this is the same thing with like Stone Cold when he was at his apex. He wasn't as good in the ring as what he was when he was, you know, by the $1 Million Man's side. You know, and The Rock was good enough in the ring, but clearly where he made his money was in his persona. So, I mean, you need all kinds of different things like that in wrestling.
I saw a meme going around of something about Sammy Guevara saying, you know, I'm a father now, I gotta be safer. And then it like cuts to like him jumping off a 15, 20 foot. I forgot what he even jumped off and then landed on the crash pad or whatever. At least they did a good job on TV of making it not look like he landed on a crash pad. I did see like the fan angle of it or whatever, and you could see him clearly landing on it, but at least it was better on TV.
It's just with Sammy.
But yeah, I guess
Sammy Guevara and a lot of these guys is like Sammy Guevara's in the same exact place he was 2 years ago. He's by Chris Jericho's side. There's no progress made whatsoever with these guys, and like they've
hinted several times that he was going to break away from that, and he still hasn't.
Well, he does, but he just they have to
right
pop him back in. Yeah,
he comes back
for that much needed, you know, match between him and Jericho and whoever it was for the World's End, that we needed him on by Jericho's side for that. The only thing I want to complain about is like we had the promo from Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions, the Kingdom, telling us they're going to defend them belts all over the place. They named off Collision, Dynamite, New Japan. I think they threw in TNA and WWE and a whole bunch of other places. The only places they didn't say they were going to defend those titles, Ring of Honor.
Boy, here's what's crazy about what you just said. We're 53 minutes into this podcast. We just now brought up United Kingdom. What the hell's their name?
Yeah, something like that.
No. Fuck, Undisputed.
Undisputed. So here's the problem. They literally just took out the world champion, and nobody cares.
Yep, nobody cares.
That's wild.
And even if you had MJF on the show, still wouldn't care, because they had Roddy being the hottest that he has ever been with Neck Strong, and now he's secondary to any and everything. And do we sure, he may take the belt from Orange Cassidy, but at this point, do you care?
And here's what would make you care, though. And again, we talk about toss-ups, softballs. And I think we mentioned this on the podcast. What if the turn happened and Adam Cole just kicks Roderick Strong out of the group? And Roddy's all butthurt because his friend Adam has now made this group, and Roderick Strong's not a part of it. You've already had the next Strong thing was getting over. Everybody leaves him. And then, boom, now that MJF's off TV, you could have Adam Cole and be it Wardlow or whoever feuding against Roderick Strong, and you could make it a story. Like, it could be something.
Yeah.
Instead of just Roddy going right back in place. Like, I don't care about Roderick Strong versus Orange Cassidy, but I care about Roderick Strong if he feels betrayed by these two guys in the Kingdom and his best friend Adam Cole and now Wardlow, and they're kicking this guy's ass across this place. And we know Roderick Strong is capable enough of a wrestler to make the matches entertaining. And this next Strong character was getting over as sort of like this crazy kind of conspiratorial underdog. Again, layups. Some of these things are just layups.
But instead, we get a feud between a guy who's not on TV and a guy that can't physically wrestle right now for at least another 2 to 3 months.
Yeah, and they're not feuding with anybody. They whooped MJF's ass, he's off TV. They're literally just standing in the ring being like, one of these days we're going to get you. That's all they're doing.
When he's ready, which may be a year from now, it's Damian Priest without a briefcase.
Yeah. When Roderick Strong was right there, and you could have whatever if you wanted to do the Kingdom, cool. But like, I really don't think the Kingdom should have been in Adam Cole's group either. Wardlow makes sense because he had the vendetta against MJF, and he needs some kind of refreshing. So whatever. But like, I don't know, man. So many times in AEW, it's like, there are things that are just right there, and for whatever reason they don't pull the trigger, or they just wait way too long before all the steam has like run out of it, and it kills the momentum. They kill so much momentum for so many people on that program.
And either make Saturday your ROH show, or leave ROH where ROH is. Quit trying to make ROH whatever AEW light it is. I don't want to continuously see you highlight the ROH guys on your main show when you're not doing an effective job of highlighting the guys that should be on your main show.
I think Ring of Honor...
I mean, yeah, I'll give you that.
Ring of Honor should be where Rampage is at. Should be 1 hour on a Friday with these people. And like, if you want to keep Collision, which I guess they're going to keep Collision, you got to just have a all hands on deck mentality. Like, it can't be all the stars on Wednesday and then everybody gets the weekend off except for whoever's hometown we're closest to has to work the Saturday, which is that's why Hangman was on this Saturday show. Now, granted, Hangman probably wasn't on Collision beforehand because it was CM Punk's show, and, you know, he was probably number one on the list of don't let that motherfucker walk the door on a Saturday. But anyway, can I talk about one other person that I think is going to be a huge star, and I'm going to make a prediction?
Sure.
Mariah May is fantastic. And give her 6 or 7 months, she's going to be a mainstay in AEW. There are just people that you can just look at and just be like, oh, she gets what wrestling is, or he gets what wrestling is. And I think that's kind of what, like, when I've watched a little bit of NXT, I think that's what has been a little bit frustrating with some of those people, is like, because a lot of the people from NXT that they're getting are, they might not necessarily be wrestling fans. A lot of them were athletes that couldn't keep playing at the professional level. They bring them over, and I get all that. And sometimes you look at it and be like, oh, this person is still learning what wrestling is. Mariah May, like, everything I've seen, and now she's been on a couple of like behind the scenes thing with like AEW. She just gets wrestling, from the facial expressions to like the command of the camera.
The ring gear.
The ring gear.
Gears.
Everything about it, she looks like she has it nailed down. And I think that is a person that I would build a division around, because I think that she is going to be absolutely fantastic. And I guarantee you it's somebody who has, if she hasn't already landed on WWE's radar, she will be there in a little bit of time, for sure. But I just wanted to shout her out, because she's basically been in the background role. And like, I'm like, damn, even in the background, she like makes herself stand out, which is more than you can say for a lot of people who get background roles. A lot of times they just stand there with their arms crossed. And she is like still working the camera in a way. So, because we didn't talk about Tony Storm. She didn't have much to do this week. She gave another promo, which, even that promo for, it was 35 seconds, but shit. I mean, it was, she's nailing that character down. So it's kind of great.
Yeah, still. Well, cool. I guess that'll wrap it up. What do we say? We're a week or two out from when does the Rumble?
27th.
I may miss that. I'm going to be on a boat, I think.
No, you're the day before, I think.
No. I don't remember. I should probably put it in my calendar. I just know it's coming up, and I've got a lot of stuff I got to get done between now and then. But yeah, that's coming up, and then Revolution is at the end of February? March
3rd.
Yeah, that's right, because the Huntsville show is the go-home show before that.
Yeah. And
I'm going to look at tickets, I think, when we get back from the cruise and see what they're going for. I don't know. I may wait until last minute and see what I can get them for.
I was about to say, the three of us might be able to walk into the box office 30 minutes before the show and get probably a pretty good deal on it. So it might be worth hanging out for.
Yeah, that might be the way to go. Well, I guess that'll do it, y'all. We appreciate you listening. Follow us on Instagram and Threads at Alabama Slam Pod. Follow our network of other podcasters. At thealabamatake.com and The Alabama Take on all social media. Got several podcasts that go throughout the week. Book podcasts, sports podcasts, Star Wars podcasts, TV and movie podcasts. I think that covers it. So yeah, we appreciate y'all listening, and we'll see y'all next week.